All right, y'all, this last section is going to teach you how to get the most out of your aim cams with the additional settings, also all your recording intervals, etc., etc., so that way you're not wasting your battery throughout a match. I will say the AimCam 4Ks have a significantly larger battery than the previous models I got to experience, so I'm able to get through a full match and download all my footage often on one charge with quite a bit of battery left over. There are battery pack options, as you can see in the article. I've got one of them that I bring to the match just in case, but I rarely ever use it unless I mess up my interval recording size for a different project, and then I let my cameras run throughout a match. I've had times where I've made like 35-minute recordings on these things, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. It's going to really suck digging that footage out because you essentially have to download that whole file before you can trim it off. So several gigabytes is not fun to download because I'm not somebody who usually pops the SD card out into my computer. I will quite literally do a transfer from the glasses to my phone while the match is wrapping up before scores are even posted. So without further ado, let's jump into the settings. All right, once you connect to the glasses themselves, a lot of these are pretty self-explanatory. You get some information about what settings or what capacity your camera itself has left, a couple buttons to start recordings or take photos. The buttons on the left are going to be your downloads. So from the SD card itself, the gallery for your local storage on the app you've already downloaded. Quick exposure changes, which I don't really use. I like to tune based off of the actual camera quality itself or the lighting there. And then that bottom left one is going to be our additional settings, and that's what we're going to dive into next. Just starting in the top left and working our way down, we've obviously got the camera device name. That's going to allow you to differentiate your device model when you have multiple of these out on the same range and you're trying to connect to the Wi-Fi. You can actually add a Wi-Fi password so nobody else can connect to your aim cams and pull your footage. Not that that's super important, but it's kind of nice so people can't just connect to the glasses themselves. Your video record quality, that's where you're going to be able to change everything from your FPS to your actual video quality itself. Obviously, you're going to be limited based off of what frames per second you choose as well. Or I guess the other way around, you're going to be limited on your frames per second based on the quality. Photo quality, not as important, but self-explanatory. Your standby mode, what that is how long with the glasses doing nothing until they just turn themselves off. Honestly, it's probably better to have it at that 3-minute mark, but I have mine set at 5 just for that extra buffer. But realistically, 3 minutes should be more than fine for most people. Now, as for that recording file interval, you can set it to a specific time so that way you're not recording those 35-minute long videos. I have 10 minutes set, again, maybe a little too long. You can set that down again to probably 3 minutes. Once you start your recording, it will automatically kick off so that way you're not making this absurd file size. WDR, that stands for wide dynamic range. I use this because what it does essentially is it takes a flat picture and it emphasizes more of the highlights and the shadows. This is going to help when you're having harsher sunlight or something that might wash it out with shadows or wash it out with highlights. Instead, you'll still see that separation. It gives you the most control over your editing long term. Microphone, I've always got that turned on. I always like to hear, me talk to myself essentially in the camera glasses. I think it's funny. Microphone stays on. Time and date stamp. I don't ever use that. It's essentially just going to give you a time and date stamp. This would be more important, I think, if you were documenting something and you needed to confirm the time and date of the recording. Obviously, not important to us. Vibration alerts. Absolutely. This is how I know when my camera is actually recording or not. Obviously, you can look at the lights on the inside left part of that frame there to be able to see if it's recording or not or what mode it's in. But ultimately, I like the vibration alerts because it makes it much easier to operate on the actual shooting range without pulling the glasses off my face, looking for lights, etc. It's all tactile feel. Stabilization. So this is going to help stabilize your image as you're running or bumping around. I think this is a useful feature for people that don't know how to use the editing programs or whatever. I don't ever post-edit stabilize my videos, but if I needed to, I'd much rather do it via post-editing than in the camera itself. But it's still a cool feature that they offer for people that don't have that kind of experience. Your setup crosshair is going to be that blue crosshair on that first screenshot. It just makes it really easy to line your optic up. I use that obviously. Spy mode, this is an interesting and kind of a weird one. I think Jamie and his team meant for it to be like a nanny cam or like a theft protection thing, but essentially you can set your aim cams to record based off of motion activity, which is pretty cool. And then your aim sight is going to be basically setting your camera crosshairs to be on the video itself, like post added. Again, it's kind of a weird one I wouldn't use. Format SD card, that's just the fastest way to be able to clear your SD card. Restore factory settings, this is going to restore all these settings that you've changed here. It's going to reset the password, etc. If you're having issues with your AimCam sometime, restoring the factory settings is a good way to get the firmware back up running smoothly. I hope going over these settings helped you with your existing hardware you might already have, or if you're looking to get the aim cams, kind of helped explain what you're running into in terms of setup or getting them customized to your liking. So if you haven't checked out the frames per second video or the lighting conditions, I'd go ahead and check those next to see if maybe this is the product for you.